All right, here we are, Radio Springfield City, the voice of Greater Springfield. Welcome back, and we have got a man who has been in the region. He only looks 25, but he's been with us for many years. Tony Russell, man of many hats. You're a golfer with Brookwater. You're a man of Morgan's. Congratulations, and thanks for being here with us on Radio Springfield City today, Tony.
Thank you very much, Naren. Absolutely my pleasure, mate.
And Tony, we're going to start firstly about when you came to Springfield all those years ago. I know that it was back then a very, very different place. Tell us your initial thoughts. Did you think that it would happen? Were you a bit skeptical? Did you see yourself living here?
It's always, you always do have, wherever you go, you're moving your family to a different place, moving a little bit out of what your original comfort zone is. There's always a little bit of intrepidation.
Yes.
It has. That's natural, I think, moving here.
And Ipswich was a very different place, which is where
Very
you
much
hail
so,
from.
yes. And we were there, and it suited our lifestyle then. With 3 children, they all schooled up there, very handy. Had the business there, so it was all very. But then the kids started to move out, so we're then looking for something a bit different, something a little bit closer. And we had heard about Brookwater getting set up. I'd been involved a little bit in a few functions through my association with the Ipswich Chamber of Commerce. And then we decided, my wife and I decided to come down and have a look at about 2006, 2007. And we were just really blown away. And it's funny, how you pick up on little things, don't you, Naren? And we spoke to one of the service sales ladies here, Hayley, and immediately we felt, first question I asked, where do you live? She said, we live here.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. I thought to myself, that's a real, positive indication.
Reinforcement,
Real
you're not speaking to a
enforcement, yeah.
salesperson,
That's
you're
correct.
a resident and a
That's right.
salesman.
Yeah. So we bit the bullet, and we bought a block here, and we built, and we moved in around the 1st of April 2008. So on April Fool's Day it was.
Yeah,
really.
right, okay, there you go.
No joke.
Best job that happened.
Yeah. So moving forward from there, it was probably one of my better decisions in my life. The first being marrying my wife, of course.
Of course. We've got to say that.
I know, mate. We've got to say.
That was a very, very different time. I mean, it's not like we had the AFL, the rail line. There was a few schools happening at the time. So it must have been a pioneering decision. And like you said, it's uprooting your family. Whether the kids have grown up or not, you've still got to make a big decision of selling where you are, selling where you grew up, selling where you were comfortable, and coming up here.
That's exactly right, mate. And you really got to do tick a lot of boxes, to what you want to do, your type of lifestyle. Does it meet the criteria that you're thinking? Handiwork, kids, everything. But what we found is the sense of community here, Naren. I mean, I always talk to people about it as being a little country town. It's a tremendous place to, and it still is, to bring up your children, for argument's sake. I mean, the people we got involved with, and a lot of people that live here, but mainly a lot of the golfers, because of my interest in golf. And we got to know their kids around, and it's just good that you're always driving around or you'll see kids out playing in the parks. Have that sense of community, safety. Absolutely. For your kids, and that really, and the convenience is another really major. The cost of convenience is fantastic, Well,
the cost of convenience is almost irreplaceable, isn't it? And I go back to what you were saying, because I bought my first property here. I was in the Grange, and then I've got some land that I've held on to, and I don't plan on selling it anytime soon. But the family values, knowing the people around the corner, building those friendships, and seeing your kids grow up with their kids. I know you're very close to our mutual friend Ong Lim.
Yeah,
I literally remember when I was getting a suit done, you came in to see Ongi. And those relationships are a bit of a legacy. You don't forget them.
They're lifetime friendships.
Yep.
And that's what really, I value a lot in life, is the social communications. Birds of a feather flock together. So people with like-minded attitudes, like-minded positivity, positive in business, positive to support community is something that I think is very rewarding, as you know,
Yes.
Naren, and it's enriching too for people.
Absolutely.
I find, it's wonderful.
I mean, I was very sad when we moved out of Brookwater, and we literally only moved out because we wanted the children to have their own identity and not be known and it still to this day makes me very sad because Priya and I are putting up the Christmas tree. We always put it up around November, and the Christmas lights and even Halloween. We have nothing like Halloween as it is in Brookwater. Absolutely nothing.
It's enormous.
Christmas, the same thing. The community really comes together. And in a bit of a digital age, I think a lot of people are losing those old-fashioned. And you call it, I call it a bubble. When I leave Brookwater, I literally feel like I'm just in the twilight zone almost, whether I'm heading to Centenary suburbs or Ipswich. But throughout the fact that we've grown and we've got now a university, in fact we've got 2 universities, 12 schools, 22 childcare centres, an AFL stadium, that community values are still there. Those friendships are still there. Like you said, they're life forming.
That's correct. And then even on a business sense, Naren, really, we're looking down now to brought our office and we merged with one of our city offices, and they've been fantastic, and we've set up in the Springfield area, and that made great sense. That made a lot of sense in the type of business we do, is to get on an incoming tide, mate, in economic prosperity.
The base was Ipswich for
Correct.
Morgans.
Yep.
You had done great work there,
Yep.
and it was a leap of faith. And
Very much so, mate.
It's really residents like yourself that I love talking to, because I always say, and I'm not sure if you were at our recent Diwali event where we thought that 1,000 people would turn up. We had 3,200
Yes, isn't that
people.
wonderful? Isn't that wonderful?
And the fact that there was so many people who have actually said yes, whether it's Brookwater, Greater Springfield, and then it was a tough time, but you said yes and brought Morgans here. Not only has it survived, but it's thrived. You're now expanding into Springfield Tower.
And it's great, and the support from the community. We believe we're doing the right thing in that sense, giving the right support, right advice, and there's people that are looking for that sort of advice, which is important, and we can help them out, which is fantastic. So, like anything, I've always, moving here, we look at it as a long-term vision, long-term view. I've heard your father speak on many occasions in the early days, and I really had a lot of affinity to what he was talking about. Keep working, and it will come to do it. And it's really simple. It might be motherhoody type statement, but they resonate so true throughout my life particularly, and a lot of other people's lives.
And I think that's the type of values, a little bit of old-fashioned values, I feel is exactly what we need in this day and age, where everything's technology and we're stuck to our devices. And I remember my father told me literally about 2 years ago, he said, I hope in your professional career you have the joy of doing a deal on a handshake and looking someone in the eye, as opposed to having a memorandum of understanding and a non-disclosure. And that's always stuck with me. You put out your hand and said, mate, are you in? Or having a conversation, the tough conversation, and being able to leave it on the table.
Correct.
And as we are just stuck to everything digital, that has really resonated with me.
I 100% agree with you, Naren. And when I originally came out and set up the office in June 1997 out at Ipswich, I was on the 29th floor of Riverside Centre.
Right.
I had the office that had a view of Morton Island, and so it was just glorious, And we decided to make a move out this way.
That's a big move, Tony.
It was a big move, and it was, and the support of the firm was fantastic. Morgans were fantastic, and when we did it. But what you're saying about that, and what I loved about this area is dealing with the people. There's wealth out here. I don't want to say money, because it's more than that.
It is wealth. And
we got involved in a lot of the community, the Rotaries and the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of other things. And people there want to look you in the eye and shake your hand and get a sense of you, really.
Absolutely.
And it's about, like all social businesses, it's about building strong relationships and maintaining. We came from a very strong firm. We've got good credibility. But my main asset as a business person is my credibility.
Absolutely.
That's the greatest asset I can have.
Absolutely.
If I don't have that, I don't have anything.
And that really even makes my hair stand up on my arms, because my father has said exactly the same. He said, when I had no money, when I had no resources, there was one thing, and it's one thing I can never afford to lose, and that's my credibility and integrity. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter how much you've got. If people think you're a rat bag,
that's right.
It's never going to work.
Yeah, then it comes down to, I mean, we're not a charity. We run a business. I've got electricity bills to pay. I had school kids, school fees to pay, and all sorts of things. So it's a matter of money. There's a business. That's the reality of life.
Yes.
It's a necessary evil, I say, but it is.
But it is what it is, and it's all about doing the right thing. And quite frankly, if I'm being open, the reason why I'm a client is that if I've got a problem, I feel that I can call you and say, Tony, look, this is concerning me. Can we have a coffee?
Sure.
And that to me means more than being with the highest tier firm in the best office, and just being able to look a person. And I really feel that the Greater Springfield community, I always say the businesses who not only survive but really do thrive are the ones that get involved in the community. Whether it's not handing over a check saying, here's supporting your cause. It's about turning up at the Anzac ceremony. It's about coming to the golf course and playing with your mates. It's about getting involved. And next year we have a real legacy project that's a passion of mine. The late Tony Seymour. Rest in peace. He was a wonderful person.
Great supporter of the community here, mate. And kids employed.
Year upon year. Everything, no worries. And unfortunately, we lost him in a tragic car accident.
Very sad.
But I would love to have a golf day where 100% of the proceeds go to a family of his choosing, or of Sandra's choosing. But we get to do that. And this community, I think, is very, very unique, because the ones who really get involved are the ones that thrive. Because people, the other choice is they have to go to the Brisbane CBD or they have to go to Ipswich. It's very much a bubble. In fact, my wife always tells me, I've sent you for bread and milk. That should take 10 minutes. Where the heck have you gone for 2.5 hours? And I said, you know where I've gone? I've gone to Orion, and I've met about 10 friends, and I love it. Because if I go to Indooroopilly or somewhere, I don't like to name anywhere, but it gives me anxiety. I'm in there with 10,000 other people. I always say community is broken down into two words. Common unity. We all have things that are important to us. Family, a little bit of wealth, as you said, a few mates who will stick by us, and that's really it. We all bleed the same. We all have the same interests, and I think that's what's so good about Radio Springfield City. We get to tell the story behind the person.
Great initiative. I just want to pick up on something you said, because it did also resonate with me, Naren, about the way that things get done electronically today. There's something lost there, and I think some of that, I feel, is in what we do, is people come and talk to me and we deal with them and we build a relationship. The thing they have and they take away is that they have an understanding that we have, as an advisor, their best interest at heart.
Yes.
Now, we don't always get it right. If we did, you and I would be having this conversation in the Bahamas, wouldn't we?
Well, if you get it wrong, with good intentions,
that's correct.
People
I understand. That's exactly right. So people come away with the sense that those people have got our best interests at heart, and I don't know how you can translate that across in the electronic world today.
Absolutely.
And I think it's an important thing that is coming less and less, I feel, and it's such an important thing, because it's not today and today's transaction that matters. It's today and 5 years, 10 years transactions that really matter.
100%.
It's very, very interesting, I think.
That really stuck with me when my father said that, and he has told me many great stories, and one of them is that he uses the same consultants today as he did 30 years ago. And I asked him why, because there might be some consultants who worked on bigger projects, some larger projects, and he says to me one thing, Tony, he goes, but mate, where were they 30 years ago? And he goes, these are the people that stuck by me when I could only pay them half their wage. And my father and mother come from very humble means, so loyalty is everything to them. And I think even when we look at the project, he still has this passion. Because I asked him, I said, why don't you just go and retire on an island? And he said, well, what the hell would I do on an island? I'll probably end up dividing it up. And you know, he goes, I have no interest. This is my only baby. This is my 5th child. And I'd like to think that the community see that. But I think what I'd like to find out is, again, people like you can comfortably retire. You're still with Morgan's. What's in the plans for Morgan's now that you are expanding, and it's so exciting?
Yeah, well, I think
I mean, you're obviously handing your knowledge down to the.
Well, I'm trying as much as I can. They'll work me out soon and then kick me out.
No, I'm not sure about that.
No, what I tell our board and the people in the office, I said, and they go on about it. One of the disadvantages of my business is that we're a bit too day to day. It's all about reacting to what's happening in the markets today, and we've really got to take a step back sometimes and just have a bit of a look at the wider view, the bigger picture, and taking a bit more thought. And I know this might sound creche, but in my heart, I was saying them, we're doing well today. Our office hasn't seen anything yet. If 5 years' time, 10 years' time, that we'll be known as the place to come to. I mean, and we don't. All you have to do is keep doing what we're doing well today. It will grow and grow. They asked, what about competition? I said, bring the Macquaries out. Bring. We want them out here. They'll do our advertising for us, and everyone they'll bring people in, and we're happy to back ourselves against any competition. You know, we believe very strongly and very confident in the service and the products that we can provide. And it's really important. 5 years, Naren, they ain't seen nothing yet. These people.
Absolutely, and I think honestly that's wisdom talking, Tony, because I feel again my belief is I'm in competition with myself. If I give you good service, if I give whoever good service, I leave it up to them. If they want to go with a bigger name that they might not have, they might have a younger person and who's got the right office and all the right details. But again, I've seen people where I can say, Tony, these are my concerns. Can we have a coffee and talk about it? And we might not agree, but the respect is always there. And that's
very important.
That's what I find with business, because I've almost seen conversations which I think that have come out of the twilight zone with my father and Bob Sharpless, who have been business partners for almost 40 years. I always joke to my father, Bob's, he was the former chairman of the Brisbane Lions. He's a family pass holder of the AFL. Dad, I don't even think you know what AFL stands for. They're like chalk and cheese. And I've seen them have lunch and have argument and slamming fists. And then 15 minutes later, they're talking about their family and how life is, because they're able to leave it on the table and just talk as human beings. And that, to me, seeing that is just absolute gold. And I really feel that, I hope that I can have that. And more importantly, I hope my children can have that.
I was extremely lucky in my business life. My wife worked for me for over 20 years in the same office. Alana had a merchant banking background, and she came in.
I never knew that.
Yeah, she had a merchant banking background, Lloyd's Bank actually.
Okay,
wow. Good stories about that in the days. But anyway, and if it wasn't for her as well, we certainly wouldn't be in the position.
Absolutely.
And why I say that is, in your life, in business life particularly, and life in general, let's talk about business life, is that you've got to come across decisions. The probability of getting and making the correct decision, or the decision should be made, is higher when you've got two minds looking at it rather than just one mind.
100%.
So, and sometimes there's a clash, but you want that.
Absolutely.
You want to see another view, but you have a very deep understanding, and I'd say, because partnerships are like marriages as well. They are. That both our long-term goals was the same point in time.
Yes.
The same with your father and for Bob. The focus was always the one thing.
Absolutely.
It's the matter of the road and the tracks and the hills and the lumps, getting around, which is the best path, which is that a preferred path, high, low, side, which way to get there, and it comes out. And so forth. So when you have a disagreement, or I wouldn't say disagreement. That's wrong. When you have a discussion and you think, then you have an understanding.
What's the difference of opinion?
That's a matter of that. That's exactly right. And then it gets worked out, and that's very, 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 very good.
And it's very, very, very rare as well. And like you said, you've got to have that right business partner. And I remember a few people challenging that dynamic, and my father gets very, very worked up. He says, "Don't you ever question that man. Would you join?" Because obviously, as you know, Bob Sharpless joined my father when my father had nothing. And he said, he's even said to us as children, "Would you join someone who's absolutely broke?" So his level of
fascinating story,
admiration and love for Bob is like that. And like you touched on, you still need that partner in life as well. And I think we're both blessed to have beautiful wives, you know, who support us, who back us, who accept our madness. And that's very important, because if you don't have it at home, you can have it at work, but if home life is unsettled, it's not going to work out. So I think it's great. Thanks very much for your time, Tony. But I would like to say one thing. Favorite hole on the golf course? I know you're out there more than you tell me.
Oh, there, man. I just had a look at a YouTube. I don't know whether you saw it. Ron versus Brookwater.
Yes, I saw that. It's fantastic.
Benny Styler.
Yeah.
There. He did a
wonderful job.
Wonderful job. And that really shows. I mean, they are spectacular. But probably the 17th.
17th,
Yeah.
where we're right behind.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I like the 17th for some reason. But they're all beautiful. The 5th I like it.
I was just about to say the 5th.
The par 3 there, the 5th is very good. But very quickly, just one thing I'll need to say. I've got to end with a little bit of humour.
Of course.
So my wife, we've been married 38 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, mate. It's been wonderful. My father said the first 40 were always going to be the hardest, but before we got married, I sat my wife down and I explained to her that we're getting married and we're going to be in this for the long term. So just a few rules. I said to my darling, so in our life we're going to come across decisions, and any major decision I'll be taking, and you can do with any other decision. And you know the surprising thing, Rin, after 38 years of marriage, I haven't come across one major decision.
Well, that's why she's the boss, and we both know that they're the boss. But my father only gave me one piece of advice. He goes, "Just say yes." So here we are, 13 years later. But you know, we're blessed with two little ones, and we're just introducing them to golf now, and we love it. And like my father says, we ain't seen nothing yet. And Tony, I hope you're going to be here for another 40 years. And thanks for your time today.
And you're most welcome, and happy to support.
We also know that you've been a huge part of the body corporate in Brookwater, and that has not been an easy thing. And that comes from passion. And we love to see the fact that you're not downsizing, but you're right-sizing back into Brookwater.
That's right.
So it doesn't seem like you're going anywhere soon.
Right. No, I think you're right. I think, and while we dealt with people, is that people always had they may have brought up issues, but behind it is because they did have a love for this community and love for this and wanted to see. Now it might be right or misguided, but at least you want that happening.
Absolutely. That dialogue.
You need that dialogue. You need that. The ability to people bring things forward, so you have an understanding of what's going on, what's required.
Yes.
Mightn't always work, but at least they're doing it, and not. The worst is if they don't do it. Worst thing people do
100%.
is doing nothing.
And that, I think, is where we keep on going back to, Tony. But now I see I'm really trying to take a bit of a digital detox every three months, and I'm off social media. But the team might come up and say, someone's just written on there, "Oh, you know, this is and I actually, any resident I meet, and even I've got a meeting tomorrow, I said, regardless of whether I can help you or not, I'll always tell you the truth. Yeah. And I think that's really what people want to do.
Very
and
much so.
Instead of just jumping on the computer and saying da-da-da-da-da.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah, come and look us in the eye and say, I hate this because, and let's have a chat. Yeah. And we might be able to fix it, we might not. But in the meantime, Tony, thanks very much for your time, mate. And hopefully next time I see you is on the golf course.
Let's hope so too, mate. I appreciate our talk.
Good on you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. That's Radio Springfield City, and we're going to hear from you real soon. We'll be back soon.